Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Schofield, and I am the Conservation Agent for the City of Leominster. Welcome to the March 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission. This meeting is considered a public meeting pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. These meetings and public hearings will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting, they can do so via telephone or computer. This meeting will also be recorded, and everything that is in the chat and said in the meeting will become a part of the public record. Scroll down. So now we begin our regular meeting. I will begin with a roll call of our commissioners. If I may ask all my commissioners to please turn on your cameras. All right. We'll start with our chairman, Chuck Raymond.
Didn't turn on his microphone.
Oh, my Chuck.
I'm sorry. I'm wondering why nobody was responding. It was user error. My apologies. Chuck Raymond is here. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chairwoman Elizabeth Ricci Blair.
Here.
Thank you. Jeffrey Goyne.
Here.
Thank you. Richard Gullick.
Here.
Thank you. And Michael Seeke.
Here.
Thank you. So with that, we have a full commission tonight and a quorum for the meeting.
All right. Thank you, Margie. Appreciate it. Hi, Chuck Raymond, the chair again. Thank you very much. Moving on down the agenda, we have nothing under conservation land management. The first new hearing. First of all, just to make sure everybody knows, this will be our last. Angela, correct me if I'm wrong. This will be our last remote virtual hearing starting next month. I think it's April 12th. We will be in person at City Hall. Is that correct, Angela?
That is correct. I'm handing over my IT badge and going back to my conservation agent badge.
I'm very excited for you, Angela. Thank you for all your hard work over the last couple of years, by the way. I really appreciate it. All right, back to the agenda. Nothing under conservation land management. Under new hearings, the first one, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent regarding the construction of a roadway extension, grading, stormwater management, and landscaping within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. Address Marcello, I assume it's Marcello or Marcello Avenue, Leominster, Mass. Map and parcel 244-46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53. DEP file number 199-1148. Is there somebody here to represent that project?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Brian Goodrow with Hancock Associates, along with Kristen Farr, our project wetland scientist on this project. So we're here before you for a comprehensive permit, a 40B project. We're currently before the Zoning Board of Appeals. A little bit of background. We were before this commission back in December and January of last year. We filed an ANRAD to verify the wetland line, our wetland delineation. Subsequently, an ORAD was issued for this property, and that is what is represented here today. So we've had some back and forth with the ZBA.
Can I interrupt? I'm sorry. Can I interrupt just very quickly? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What was your name again? Was it Brian?
Brian Goodrow.
All right, Brian, thank you. Just very quickly, if you are not representing this project, could I ask everybody to turn their cameras off, just so we know who's representing the project and who isn't? I appreciate it very much. Back to you, Brian. Sorry about that.
Not a problem at all. So I've shared my screen, and this is just a GIS aerial overview of the property. Main Street 13 is here on to the east. To the north is Kinsman Ave and Moreland Ave. The MBTA tracks is to kind of the south and west of the project, and the colored area is the area of development, kind of that large undeveloped portion of the property. There's about 13 acres here is the subject parcel. So to give you even a little bit more history on the project, back in 2012, a definitive subdivision was put before the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission for a 7-lot subdivision, and that was ultimately approved, and that's the plan that you see here today. There's 7 single-family lots surrounded by a Marcello Avenue roadway extension, stormwater management tucked up against the wetlands towards the end of what is the existing pavement today, and then a secondary stormwater management feature kind of nestled in between the 2 wetlands. Pivoting to what we have before you right now, we're essentially modifying what was the 7-lot subdivision into a 2-lot subdivision. So lot 1 is represented by the building up near Marcello Avenue. It's a 15-bedroom kind of garden style building for North Star Services Inc. And they're kind of a disadvantaged housing service provider. So the people that don't have the ability or the resources to rent or buy homes, they provide housing for them. So what this project is 15 units of affordable housing. That's associated with that. There's a 28-space parking lot. Marcello Avenue is proposed to be extended into a driveway and kind of split into 2 parking areas, one up directly adjacent to the building, and then kind of some satellite parking to the north. Now, there is a lot 2 that's 10 acres of the 13-acre parcel that is to remain undeveloped at this point in time. Now, the comprehensive permit that were before the Zoning Board of Appeals is only for lot 1 and the improvements that you see before you. If there's future development, and there may be future development proposed, that would come before this commission at a later date. So again, what we're here before you this evening for is a 15-unit affordable building, kind of a driveway expansion and stormwater management features. So to dive into a little bit of the site slopes from north to south. So up near Kinsman at the top of the page, down towards the wetlands. There's a bit of a hill. We have about 30 feet of elevation change from the northernmost property line down to the wetlands. So stormwater-wise, basically all of our existing runoff flows across the property down towards the wetlands. And what we're doing within the post-development condition is we're doing a couple of different things, right? So starting with Marcello Avenue, the existing roadway currently sheets all front yards, driveways, roofs, and there's a small kind of condo community here at the end. The parking lot associated with that sheets all that runoff directly into the wetlands unmitigated. So there's no catch basins, there's no kind of treatment or attenuation in the existing condition. Now, in the proposed condition, what we're trying to do is we're trying to actually improve that existing condition. So where Marcello Avenue currently sheets water directly into the wetlands, with our driveway extension, we're going to fix that, right? So we're going to put in a series of catch basins at what is the end of the existing pavement. We're going to pass it through a hydrodynamic separator for TSS removal. So we're going to take all of the existing runoff from Marcello Avenue, pass it through a treatment train, and subsequently discharge it to its current kind of point, to that southern tract wetlands. Into the project proper, because we have slope from the north to the south, we've proposed an infiltration basin kind of to the southern edge or the southern limit of the property. So all of the roof runoff, all of the proposed impervious areas, the pavement is going to be collected and piped into the infiltration basin for attenuation and recharge. As a part of that 2012 plan that we had shown you just a minute ago, we're really just modifying the stormwater that was proposed as a part of that project for this new development. So this infiltration basin is now sized for the additional impervious areas. We've graded to create infiltration basin, and then the outlet kind of mirrors that existing condition. So the point of discharge of the entire site is the wetlands, and we've modeled our post-development condition with that same point of discharge. So we're meeting our TSS threshold, and we are meeting our rates and volumes from our pre to post. So what's that? What is that doing? We're fixing kind of that existing condition at the end of Marcello Avenue, and then we're ensuring that this development won't have any detrimental downstream impacts from stormwater. There are a couple other nuances to the project, one of them being sewer. So Marcello Avenue sewer is at an elevation where we actually can't connect this building to the sewer manhole that exists towards the end of Marcello Avenue. It's kind of at the edge of the viewport, the edge of the page here on the right-hand side. That's actually higher than what we could get a pipe to from this building. So what we've proposed is a cross-country sewer connection. So to shift to kind of a big picture, this is the entire parcel. That manhole is somewhere here where my cursor is, and we're actually proposing to come around the wetlands and then down by the MBTA tracks, where there is a kind of sewer lateral, a sewer stub, if you will, an empty pipe that was earmarked for this parcel at one point in time, and we're going to connect into that. So if you're looking at the plan and you're wondering why we're creating this long run exclusively for a sewer connection adjacent to the wetlands, that's the reason why. It's the only way that we can actually get a gravity flow from this property out into the municipal system. Now, an important thing to note is this run is actually a mirror of the run that was approved back in 2012. So we're not recreating the wheel here. What we're doing is we're just verifying, trying to limit our impacts and sizing the sewer collection pipe for the reduced volume, or make sure that there's adequate capacity in it. So that's kind of what this back run is. In the 2012 plan right here, this is the sewer line, and then we have the same thing kind of heading off page in the plan that's before you today. Now, other utilities, we have municipal water, there's a few fire hydrants, obviously cable, telephone, electric, all underground services. The layout of the pavement and the parking area has all been verified by Leominster's fire department as adequate for their largest apparatus. So we did a sweat path analysis, and that's why you see the geometry, kind of the layout of the pavement in the manner it's at. You might be thinking, well, why do we have an access driveway to the south if we have a driveway to the north adjacent to the building and the parking lot? It's to make sure that we can get that apparatus into the property in front of the building, and then being able to loop back out to Main Street. Another important kind of piece to note is this plan has been reviewed by DPW and the city engineer. They've reviewed stormwater, they've reviewed all of our hydrologic calculations, they've reviewed any engineering assumptions that we've had out here. So we've had quite a bit of back and forth to get us to this point. And all of our design elements have been fully vetted by the city. So I guess in summary, the project that's before you this evening, a lot of back and forth with the city, a lot of time and effort has been spent to make it look like it is. And there's reasons why we have the infiltration basin adjacent to the wetland resource area, which was a mirror of what was approved back in 2012. It's because of the topography. It's because that's the area. That's the area that was used appropriate for.
Hold on, Brian.
I think we're good now. So with that, I guess in closing, I'm happy to go through any of these kind of design features in more depth if there are questions. If there's any questions about how we arrived at specific configurations within the site, I'm happy to jump into that. So, Mr. Chair, I'm good for questions.
All right, thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. A lot of moving parts here. I appreciate your in-depth description. I said a couple of questions. So, obviously, assuming the catch basins, this will be a town street, and the city will maintain the catch basins. Quick question though, is that the infiltration basin, that triangular shaped thing over on the left?
It is, and then just
Okay.
a point of clarification on the street and what the city is going to maintain. This is actually not a public right-of-way. This is going to be maintained entirely for the property owners. So North Star will be managing all the maintenance of the facilities, the catch basin cleaning, mowing the basin, things like that.
Okay, all righty. And my other question, so I'm trying to follow that, I guess on the one you're showing, the new sewer line that goes down and around the wetlands. So that wetland is contained within a basin. So when you come back around the other side with the sewer line, you will not be going through the wetlands, I assume.
Correct. So if you think about the parcel, can't really see the sewer line on this, but basically this dark line is the southern and easternmost property line. Essentially, this parcel and the parcel directly behind the project are actually up above the wetlands. So there's historic fill out here. And then you have the MBTA tracks that basically row the edge of that wetlands, and that's up higher than the wetland complex. And there's a culvert that goes underneath the tracks that picks up overflow, picks up any of the runoff that kind of meanders down, so there's not a large pond in this area. So we're installing that sewer line kind of in the slope up gradient of the wetlands as much as we can.
All right, thank you. And in putting that line in, you are, and I don't want to belabor the point. I know this has all been approved before. I just have a question in my mind. So that part where that sewer line comes around the wetlands, and you're going, I guess, more or less east to west there. There's no other private property, the property owners that need to be consulted. That's who owns that land?
We do. So all the work that is being proposed is within this parcel proper. So there's the 7 lot subdivision and the right of way. The city never took ownership of that right of way as a public street. So even though it's broken out into 8 different parcels, the right of way and 7 single family lots, one big 13-acre tract. All of the work is within that 13-acre tract. Okay.
You broke up a little bit there, but I caught you, Drift. All right. Good. Thank you, Brian. Those are the only questions I had. I'll open up to the rest of the commission. If anybody on the commission has any questions, feel free to jump in. I assume that's a no. Just making sure that so nobody none of the commissions have questions. Okay. With that done, I'll open it up to public. If anybody from the public has any questions or concerns about the project, please chime in now. But before you do, please state your name and your address. Second time? Third and final time.
Okay, I'm in. This is Janice LeDuc. I'm on Kinsman Ave, which is above the project.
Okay.
You're talking about stormwater, but there is water in this land constantly. It's like it seeps right through from God Almighty, from King's Corner, it seems. We just get overrun with water. And when you put in a building that's 120 feet long, and you're going to put a retaining wall in back of it, water goes where water wants to go. And I have visions of it either washing out Mr. Michael's place or God knows where it's going to end up. But you have to realize how much water is in that ground all the time, not just when it rains. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Brian, do you have any response to that?
I mean, we've done soil testing. There's soil testing on record. We know where the groundwater elevation is, what contouring you see on the grading plan, retaining walls. Retaining walls are designed to mitigate hydrostatic pressure, which is the pressure of groundwater against them, so that you don't have things like bleed out and whatnot. There's ways to convey that, and our calculations that have been independently reviewed by the city prove that we're not creating kind of a hazardous condition or something that is drastically different than what's out there today.
So in other words, you will not be impeding or impounding water there as far as you can tell. Is that correct?
Correct. We're maintaining our pre-imposed.
Alrighty. What I would suggest, it sounds like a pretty local concern, Mr. and Mrs. Leduc. If you would be interested in Brian, I assume would be interested in meeting the neighbors out there if they have any concerns and to show them what how you can address their concerns. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure. I believe we have a site walk that's scheduled
Yes, I
on
would.
Thursday with the commission.
I'm sorry, what?
I believe we have a site walk.
Brian Hall said, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Leduc, go ahead.
Yes, we would be interested. Thank you.
Brian, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I believe we have a site walk scheduled for Thursday at 10 o'clock with the commission. So they are more than welcome to attend.
Hi, I'm apologize, Angela Schofield here. So the site walk is actually not open to the public. It wasn't posted as a public meeting, so we cannot actually invite the public to attend. It's just for the commission and engineers to view the site. I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you, Angela. Brian, is there some way but you're more than welcome to meet with the Leducs, though. Is there some way that they can get your contact information?
Oh, absolutely. Angela has it, or I'll be happy to share it if there's.
Okay.
Absolutely. I can
Thank you.
send an email, connect you to you three as well.
Ms. Leduc, would that work for you?
Yes, it would.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, sounds like Angela will get in touch with you, and she can connect you to via email, and you can arrange your own time to meet out there when we most convenient.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Appreciate the question. If there's anybody else in the public, please chime in now. All right, with that then, I will go ahead and close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Angela, back to you.
Thank you. This is Angela Schofield. So at this time, my suggestion to the commission would be for us to continue the hearing to our April 12th in-person meeting after our site visit. One moment, let me mute someone.
Angela, you said continue to April 12th, and I missed the rest of that.
Yeah, sorry, I had to mute somebody. So yes, we will continue. My suggestion is to continue it to the April 12th meeting after our site visit this week. At the time, so the commission can view the site before voting on it.
Okay, and so we need a motion and a second to continue it, correct?
Correct.
Hi, this is Rich Cullick. I'll make that motion to continue this hearing.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Rich. Is there a second?
This is Liz, I'll second.
Sorry, Jeff, I heard Liz first. Good, thank you, Liz.
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Jeffrey Goyne, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Michael Siki, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to continue this hearing to our April 12th meeting, which will be in person at City Hall in conference room 10. That is all the way to the tippy top of the stairs to the right.
Okay, I have a question. Rich Gullick here. This is for Brian. Brian, when we meet Thursday morning, it would be great if you knew exactly where Jan Leduc's place was, and what her question, exactly which area that was about, so you can show us when we're there.
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
That would be assuming they've had a chance to meet in the meantime, but
Or
yeah,
at least talk.
Yeah, that's a good.
Phone
point.
call
That's fine.
and say, hey, this is what it is, because then we can look at it while we're there, and that would help. That's all.
Yep, that's fine. Okay. All right, good. All right, thank you, Brian. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Bet. All right, so moving on to the next hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent regarding the riverbank stabilization along the south bank of the Nashua River. Address 230 Commercial Road, Leominster, Mass. Map and parcel 90 -52-1. And it looks like there's no DEP file number. Angela?
Angela here, just let me confirm really quickly. Oh my. I have a little app here in front of all my other apps and it keeps blocking my view. Yep, so at this time, we still do not have a DEP file number.
Okay. Do we want to open it and continue it? Do we just want to continue? Is there somebody here to represent the project?
Yes, my name's Adrienne Dunk. I'm with GZA, and my colleague Rosalie Starbish, also with GZA, are here to represent the project. If the commission's amenable, we would like to open and present the project. We have a site walk scheduled on Friday with the commission, and so we would plan on continuing the hearing tonight.
Okay, but you want to go? You want to present the project tonight?
We'd like to open and present the project tonight so that we can respond to questions prior to the next meeting.
The floor is yours then.
Wonderful. I will share my screen.
Perfect. Let me give you permissions here.
Okay.
There we go.
Hey, quick question, Angela. We first heard about this project last year sometime, right? As I recall.
Yes, I believe offline I mentioned it to you because I had gone to a site visit with Rosalie, and I do not believe Adrian was there. No, I don't remember your face. But I know I met Rosalie with a couple other city departments and other engineers and scientists to kind of walk the site. But this is really the first official time since I've been here that this is being presented to the commission.
Okay. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
Great. So just to orient everyone, here's I-90 and Route 2, and this is the Leominster connector. And here we have the wastewater treatment plant. So our project is confined to a portion of bank that here along the southern bank of the North Nashua River, which is currently eroding. This is problematic because the Fall Brook interceptor is located within this bank. And so that is a 36-inch sewer pipe leading from the city out to the wastewater treatment plant. Other portions of this bank have been previously stabilized. It's actually very clear on the 1990s photography. You can see here is a rip-wrapped portion of bank, and then downstream here is a rip-wrapped portion. And so our work is focusing on stabilizing just that space in between, which was left naturalized and over time has eroded, undercut, and is migrating further south. So we are proposing to cut that eroding bank back. There we go, changing screens. So we would be excavating out that loose and eroding material and installing a riprap bank in that area. And so that matches the upstream and downstream riprap banks, and it provides the most appropriate armoring given the flows and shear velocity of the river. And I'm just going to walk through the cross section because we have a lot of resources on this site, and so it can get fairly complicated. There we go. So here's the river. These areas here, this is existing riprap downstream, existing riprap upstream, and the flow in this image would be down and to the right. Our riprap area will be in this gray. So starting with the wettest resources and working upland, portions of this new slope will be in the land under water bodies and waterways. and then portions of it will be in the bank. And so that bank is from the line with the arrow, that's the mean annual high water and top of bank line. So portions will be in the bank. And we will be applying for and receiving a 401 individual water quality certification for that dredging activity in the land under water, bodies and waterways, and bank. So that area will be stone moving forward. Then, in this area that's above the wetland line with the arrows pointing in, this area is both riverfront area and bordering land subject to flooding. And so to mitigate for impacts in that area, we will actually be vegetating the riprap. So live stakes of native dogwood and willow species will be planted through the stone and into the earth. And so that will that'll restore some of the habitat values lost by cutting back the existing vegetation to install the riprap. And it will also increase the stability of the riprap and slow floodwaters. In the bordering land subject to flooding, we'll actually have a net increase in storage volume, because when we regrade the bank, it's going to be just a little bit less jagged. It'll have a smoother line along it. And to remove any fill from the regulatory floodway, we moved that top of bank south a hair. And so we're actually going to increase area of bank, and we're going to increase BLSF flood storage. So that's it for our permanent impacts. It's limited just to this gray area, though it spans multiple resources. I apologize that these PDFs are a little slow. So we'll also have some temporary impacts. And again, those will be in our riverfront area and our bordering land subject to flooding. And those are for staging and access. Those areas are entirely temporary in nature. They're going to mostly reuse existing areas of herbaceous and degraded riverfront area where prior access, from the 1990 era riprap slopes were installed. So access will be off of the Leominster connector on one side on the south, and on the northern side, there we go. On the northern side, access will be through the wastewater treatment plant. We elected to use 2 access points to avoid any undue or unnecessary impacts to this perennial channel. So those impact areas, those temporary access and staging areas will be restored through seeding. These areas that are currently grass will be restored to grass. These areas of access that are more natural will be planted with conservation seed mix and shrubs, so that ultimately those are restored and would not be considered impact under the Wetland Protection Act. And I believe that's the overview of the project. I'm happy to take any questions from the commission.
Hi, this is Chuck Ryan. Make sure I turn my microphone on this time. It's always helpful. I think this looks like a good project. I think it's probably well overdue. I appreciate you taking the time to do the restoration in those several areas. And I had a question. I think this slide answered it. You had talked about putting in dogwoods, and I see you've got the red osier dogwood. There's the more of the shrubby kind versus like a flowering dogwood. So that was my only question. I thought it was kind of odd you'd be putting flowering dogwoods in amongst the rocks.
No, it'll be the red osier and the more shrubby willows.
Beautiful. No, that's great. Thank you. I don't have any questions myself. I think it's looks like a pretty healthy plan. I'll open up to the commission. Anybody on the commission have any questions or concerns for GZA while they're here?
Thank you, Chuck. This is Rich Gullick. I have a quick question. Can you show me on the map where the outfall for the wastewater plant is located, please?
I am not sure where the outfall from the wastewater treatment plant is. Rosalie, do you know where that is? Oh, I'm being told top of sheet by Mark.
Yeah, I don't know our project area. I believe, that is the case, that it's not in our project area, but yeah, Mark.
Confirm. This is the area up
Yeah.
here, which is in a previously riprap area above our work.
Thank you. Well, and we'll see it Friday. I look forward to the tour Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Mike Siki, and I apologize, I'm relatively new to the commission, so I have a tendency to ask inappropriate questions and people yell at me from the commission. So let me just, I kayak that part of the river. The outfall is up where you are because the water warms right up, but it's a wonderful area to kayak. And I was wondering and I'm asking the commission as much as I am, Adrian and Rosalie, is there a way to leverage the work that you're doing with access to create another access point for the city recreational users to get in with kayak? Because it's just a wonderful part of the river that isn't really accessible easily. I'll put it that way.
If I may, Adrian, I think Michael, it's not a bad question, but I think that's well beyond the scope of this hearing.
No, I was just,
Yeah,
and
yeah, no, but
I previewed this with I ask an inappropriate question, so.
No, I wouldn't call it inappropriate, but it's probably beyond the scope of this hearing. But if that's a concern, bring it up maybe talk to Angela and see if there's other departments in the city you can bring it up to. But I think it's beyond the scope of this. But I appreciate it. Jeff or Liz, anything? You guys all set?
This is Jeffrey Goyne. Do we have any plans as to how we're going to work in the water? A turbidity curtain or anything like that?
Yeah.
Is there anything specified for this job?
Yes, there is. So on the first sheet of the plans, there's a lot going on, but there will be a cofferdam installed. And so it will be around the upper limit of work and then tie in this channel so that the channel can still flow through out to the river. And then a second cofferdam along the lower portion of the work with a turbidity curtain at the downstream extent of the work to limit sediment migration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, a good question, Jeff. I'm sure the details of that are in the plan, and I'm sure Angela has seen those, and we'll be on top of the project probably throughout its life. So, but that's a good question. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, you all set? Okay. With that,
Yeah,
I'll
I
open
am.
up.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You were going to say you were going to continue?
Yeah, I am. I think it's definitely long overdue.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll open it up to the public. If there's anybody from the public who wishes to speak on the project, or if you have any questions or concerns, you're welcome to do so now. But before you do, please state your name and your address. Second time? Third and final time. Alrighty, with that, thank you. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, public portion of the hearing. Angela, I'll throw it back to you.
Just Schofield here. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, do we need to continue it before you start?
So I was just going to make the suggestion that we continue until after our site visit, and we continue to our April 12th meeting, which will be in person again in room 10 at City Hall.
All right. Do I have a motion to continue it?
Make that motion, Rich Gullick.
Thank you, Rich. For a second.
This is Jeffrey Goyne. I'll second.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
This is Angela again. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Elizabeth Ricci Blair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Michael Siki, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries. We will continue this to our April 12th meeting, which once again will be in person at City Hall in room 10. Just making sure everyone knows.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent regarding the replacement of a structurally deficient bridge. Address Litchfield Street roadway, Leominster, Mass, between map and parcels 482-2-12 and 441-88, and no DEP file number. Angela, what's happening with that?
Might help if I muted myself. So let me double check here and see if we received one yet. Pulling up the state site. So for Litchfield Street, we have not received a DEP file number yet. And I do see that Mr. Liddy from LE, Mr. Liddy is here. I apologize, my words are not working today with my computer. So I'm gonna make him the presenter so he can present the project.
All righty, hello, Mr. Liddy, please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Tom Liddy, professional wetland scientist from Lucas Environmental. Actually, joined with me tonight is Andrew Spur. He is from TEC, who's the engineer for the project. He designed and prepared the plans that were submitted. My role was more of the wetland scientist and ecological specialist. Andrew wanted to just open up the hearing and just give you a brief overview of the project and some of the history, just to give you, a quick overview of what we're presenting. And as Angela said, we don't have a file number yet, much like a couple of our other filings tonight, but and we do have a site visit planned for Friday. So understanding we need to continue conduct a site visit on Friday and then come back in April. But in the meantime, we thought it would be wise to just give an overview of the project and see what questions you may have, and then come back following the site visit.
Sounds good. Appreciate your input. The floor is yours.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody. My name, as Tom said, is Andrew Spur. I'm the designer of record with TEC. And as kind of alluded to, the project entails, well, first, everybody can see my screen, right? I think it's telling me everybody can, but I just want to make sure.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, you're good. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. So the project entails replacing a deficient bridge in town on Litchfield Street, carrying Litchfield Street over the Fall Brook. The existing bridge is comprised of kind of a hodgepodge of different materials, and it's becoming deficient. Some of the wing walls are starting to collapse. Mass DOT has flagged some of the elements of the bridge as pretty critical, and it suggested that the repair happens ASAP. The town was a recipient of a small bridge grant and had direct selected us to perform the design of the project. So with those funds, we, proceeded with design, and now it's getting through design. We have submitted the plans to Mass DOT for what's known as Chapter 85 review. And that is when they review the structural adequacy of bridges spanning between 10 and 20 feet that are municipally owned. So this bridge falls into that criteria, and it was approved by the state from a structural perspective and a traffic safety perspective, which is always great. So just a little bit more specific about the project itself. We are proposing to replace the deficient bridge with a precast concrete three-sided box culvert, which you can see on my screen right here. The culvert spans 20 feet from kind of where I'm moving my mouse, and it's going to be a 20-foot span by 6-foot rise structure with adjacent precast concrete wing walls on all four corners of the bridge. We're proposing to put back, compliant traffic safety features along the bridge, compliant new guardrail along the approach roadway. And as part of the project, we will be replacing a water line that passes above the current bridge, and we will be temporarily supporting in place a gas line that runs underneath the roadway but over the bridge. We're proposing to install catch basins and a drain manhole on Litchfield Street, which will outlet into Fall Brook, but we are proposing to put riprap spill pads at the end of the pipe to help with runoff. And this is, well, the page of the plan that I'm showing here is our control of water plan, which shows our plan to basically perform a full road closure and detour, and we'll be placing bulk sandbags on both sides of the stream to basically create a dry condition to excavate and build the new bridge. So we'll pump out any water from the work area, put it into a temporary stilling basin before discharging it back downstream. And there will be riprap at the end of any bypass piping that is required to do that. We're proposing to put floating silt fences on the downstream side of the bridge right here. We are I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I think that's pretty much it for the most part. So that's kind of a higher level picture of the project from a structural perspective, and generally what's going on with the project. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Tom to kind of discuss a little bit more of his expertise and some of the impacts environmentally that might be associated with the project.
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. Angela, could I share my screen? I have a couple exhibits that might help me talk through this.
Absolutely. So let me click the buttonies. There we go. Alrighty. You should be able to share your screen now. There we go.
All right. I have two screens and they just changed position, so I'm sorry about that. Do you see the Google map, everybody? Yep, okay. All right, so just to give a quick overview where we are, you see, Route 2 is over here, 190, Litchfield Street. I'm sure you guys are more familiar with it than I am. It's a connector road in between 17 and 12. You can see on the Google map, here's Fall Brook. You can zoom in a little closer. It doesn't really show here, but there, the Cube Smart self-storage is here, and I believe this is the Meadow Pond Brook apartment complex. Here's an aerial view. It shows a little bit better. There's actually two tributaries coming in. The water flows from west to east, flowing under Litchfield Street. And this was included in the notice of intent, but this is just a picture of the existing culvert. As Andrew said, it's kind of a mishmash of different materials. It doesn't look very stable along the banks here. The existing culvert's probably 10 feet wide, give or take. And we're just proposing, obviously a new bridge structure. And I'm just gonna bring up the same plan that Andrew had. And okay. So obviously, I think I mentioned the water body we're working in is Fall Brook. It's a perennial stream on the USGS map. Therefore, it's regulated as inland bank, land underwater. There's areas of bordering vegetated wetland, which flank the riverbanks. The site's also located in floodplain. The floodplain elevation in this area is 344.7 feet. Obviously, to do this kind of work, there's obviously a need to work in the river itself in order to place the structure. One of the big focus from the regulators, as well as the regulated community, is to, whenever you have a project, a new stream crossing or a replacement of a stream crossing, there's obviously desire to meet the Mass State stream crossing standards. For new structures, you have to meet them fully, but for replacement structures, you meet them to the maximum extent practicable. In the Notice of Intent application, we go through each of the stream crossing standards. The only one that we don't meet is the span width and the bank full elevation, excuse me, the stream width at bank full is 23 feet wide. We're providing a 20-foot wide culvert. Anything bigger would turn this into a much larger scope project, and constructing a structure wider than that is just not feasible. The other standards we do meet, we meet the openness ratio. We're using a 3-sided span with open bottom that will utilize a natural substrate, and our pre and post construction substrate and elevations will mirror what's existing. In terms of impacts, they're spelled out in the Notice of Intent application. There are 2 matters that I just wanted to point out. Due to the widening of the structure and the overall expansion, there is approximately 51 square feet of permanent BVW impact. This results from the widening of the roadway, and we're proposing a small 52 square foot replication area along the existing bank. And for such a small area, we're proposing to loam and seed it with a wetland seed mix. I also mentioned that we're in floodplain, and then again, due to the widening of the structure and the overall expansion, we're actually providing an additional 445 cubic feet of flood storage. So from an environmental point of view, this project, it takes an older structure that is probably too small for the existing stream. We're providing a benefit by widening it, and which provides improved connectivity within the waterway with not only water flow, but wildlife, and providing improved flood storage. With that, I think I'll turn it over to the commission, understanding we need to continue, but if you have any questions right now, we'd be happy to answer them.
All right, this is Chuck Raymond, the chair. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it very much. I just have a couple of questions. I think it was Andrew, you're the first one, right, that spoke?
Yes, correct.
All right. You mentioned a gas line. Can you go back to I'm just concerned about, obviously a gas line has to cross the stream somewhere. Just curious as to what safeguards there'll be to prevent any kind of a breakage of that and any kind of a spillage into the river.
So usually when we do this, we coordinate very, very closely. And we already have coordinated very closely with National Grid, who owns the gas line. We've coordinated our plan with them pretty thoroughly. Our plan is to temporarily support it in place. So basically, it's shown on this plan that Tom has up. It's just kind of north of the center line of the road. You can see it's like a rectangle kind of spanning very long, but it's I know I can't point, that's why, because I'm not sharing my screen, but regardless, what happens is we basically put a long steel beam spanning the limits of the trench that will be excavated to install the new bridge, and we hang the gas line from that. So it's very delicate excavation from the surface down to the gas line. Once it's exposed, it's hung, it's supported from above, and the contractors are able to work beneath it pretty seamlessly. We've done this on several other projects before, and contractors are very, very mindful of working beneath these lines.
All right, good, thank you, appreciate it. And did you say you're going to make this a 20-foot wide culvert? Did I catch that number correctly?
Correct. Yep.
So we're going from 10 feet wide to 20 feet wide?
Yes.
Okay.
It's I believe the existing span, it kind of varies, like we mentioned a couple times. I think it varies from about 8 to 10 feet. It shrinks and it grows. It's kind of just, it's an old bridge that I think was expanded at one point in time. So it's not exactly 10, but yes, we are expanding the opening.
Okay, good. Well, more room for the river to flow naturally. Appreciate that. Those are the only questions I had. Anybody else on the commission have any questions for Andrew, or it was Tom, right?
One final thing I just wanted to add was just that this is a town-funded project. The town is applying for it's known as a small bridge grant through Mass DOT. They offer these grants and they can potentially be awarded up to $500,000 for construction, but they may not be awarded the grant. And our engineer's estimate right now for this project is over $1.5 million. So it's just hopefully the town is able to get some funds to help them out. But this is one of the main reasons why we did not meet the 1.2 bank full width for stream crossing standard, was knowing it was town funded, knowing that was a big constraint, and we wanted to try to work with the town to keep the scope down as much as possible to limit the amount of money that they'd have to spend out of pocket.
Appreciate it. All right, good. Thank you. So nobody on the commission has any questions or concerns before I move on to the public hearing? The public portion?
This is Jeffrey Goin. Quick question. I noticed, do these precast units, are they going to be set by crane? And if so, do you need to relocate the utility lines that are around the structure, both overhead to the substation, as well as the basic feed along the roadway? And if so, do they need to be relocated into wetland areas or near wetland areas?
Great question. Yeah, we are proposing to relocate overhead wires. On the west side of the road, there is a overhead that is being relocated further west, and it is currently being, at the plan we're showing it, is outside of the wetlands. And then for utilities within the road, everything that is going to be buried, or everything that is currently buried, will remain buried. It'll stay within the footprint of the roadway. Nothing's being relocated outside of the footprint of the road.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Jeff. Appreciate it. Anybody else? All right. Well, if the commission has any questions or concerns, I'll open it up to the public. Does anybody from the public who wishes to speak on the matter, you're welcome to do so now. But please introduce yourself, state your name and your address first. Second time? And third and final time. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Angela, do you want me to just take a vote to continue, or get a motion, I should say?
Angela here, yes, that would be perfect.
All right, I'll take a motion to continue the hearing to the April 12th meeting.
This is Rich Gullick. I'll make that motion to continue this hearing, Chuck.
Thank you, Rich. Second.
This is Jeffrey Goin, and I'll second.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Michael Siki, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Vice Chairwoman Elizabeth Ricci Blair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to continue this hearing until our April 12th meeting.
All right, thanks, gentlemen. Hopefully I'll see you Friday morning. Or
Thank you very much.
Whenever the on-site meeting is. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good one. All right. Moving on. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a request for an amendment of an order of conditions regarding proposed changes, including the expansion of the building and construction of a proposed parking garage. Address Central Street, Leominster, Mass. Map and parcel 317-10, DEP file number 199-1121. Is there anybody here to represent that project?
Good evening, Bill Hannigan from Hannigan Engineering is here.
Bill, how are you, sir?
Well, thanks.
Good, good. The floor is yours, my friend.
Want me to share my screen there?
I think I sent it over. There it is.
Okay. So this is the Pine Hill portion of the Brooks Pond development. Brooks Pond Road comes off of Central Street. O'Reilly Auto Parts is right here. 40s is here. And recently we had the farm stand barn project approved by the commission, which is in this area here. The original plan that was approved, and it's kind of a different sheet layout, but was for a 25 unit building at 15 Brooks Pond Road. And since that time, additional construction has been proposed to take the building that was approved and add a wing to it to basically bring the additional units around towards Central Street, and also to add a parking lot at the front of the site to provide additional parking for the overall project. So the work that we're talking about doing is in this area here. That's additional. This is the additional work that's under review for tonight. Now, a lot of the area that was in here was actually rubble and debris that had been buried for years by the farmer. And part of the thought process of how this got laid out is also because of the fact that a lot of that material had to get dug out and basically screened and removed from the site. Peter's on the line. He can tell you how much was taken out, but it was not insignificant if you've driven by and saw the piles there. So what we're proposing to do is all the utilities for the building would still come from Brooks Pond. So the water and sewer would come into this end of the building and feed the whole building. The thing that would change is the electrical would be coming underground from this pole here to a transformer pad in this location here. The drainage would be collected at low points in the parking lot, shown what these catch basins are, and be routed around to here. And this drainage line is already in as part of the original project for this part of the building. So the drainage has been reviewed by the DPW. This plan was actually approved by the planning board last night at their meeting. So the Conservation Commission, we're here basically to have the existing order of conditions amended to reflect this new plan and the additional parking that goes along with it. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Making sure. Thank you, Bill. Just want to make sure I had my microphone on. Yeah, I mean, this is an expansion of a project. Like I mentioned when this project first came before us, I don't know, last year, maybe, actually, I think it was the year ago, last fall, as I recall. I thought that original part of the building was, despite the fact that it was permittable under the Wetlands Protection Act, I thought it was a wholly inappropriate site for the building. But be that as it may, you're now extending it, but back towards the road, which is, understandable. But other than that, I really have no major questions. But just one quick question, Bill. The front of the building, I guess, the part facing the pond. I see that the brown figure representing the building doesn't have a dark line, but the rest of the outline of the building has a dark line. Does that indicate anything?
This is a higher foundation. This is the main foundation at the upper level that wraps around here. Then this is basically the walkout level, if you will, that walks out to that lower elevation. So that's the difference in the foundation construction.
Okay, I was curious about that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. I don't have any questions or concerns other than the ones I've already voiced. Anybody else in the commission have any questions or concerns for Bill while he's here? Nothing? Okay, with that then, I'll go ahead and open up to the public. If there's anybody in the public, anybody from the public, I should say, that has any comments or questions or concerns for Mr. Hannigan, you're more than welcome to state them now, but please introduce yourself and state your name and address before you do. Second time? Third and final time. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Angela, I'll throw it back to you.
Angela Schofield here. So my recommendation would be for the commission to issue an amended order of conditions, noting the plan and the extension, the additional work of the parking facility or parking area at this meeting.
All right, so do I have a motion based on the agent's recommendation?
This is Mike Siki. I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a second? Anybody?
This is Jeffrey. Real quick, this is Jeffrey Goyne. I'll second. And Bill, just a heads up, I don't know if you've talked to the state at all, given that they own that section of Route 12. We have a project going in within the next 5 years or so. And I don't know if this type of development will require an access permit. So you may want to check through those channels.
No, it does. We're gonna, now that we've got the process done here, we're gonna be applying for a new curb cut at this location right here. Yep.
Good. I appreciate bringing that up, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Richard Gullick, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Vice Chairwoman Elizabeth Ritchie Blair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to issue an amended order of conditions. Ooh, excuse me, I keep sneezing. I'm trying not to sneeze. For DEP file number 1991121.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Actually, I'm gonna stick on for a little bit. I got another thing at the other end.
Okay. Just don't make any noise, okay? All right, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on a request for a determination of applicability regarding the repair of a foundation. Address 37 Christine Street, map and parcel 584-31. Looks like we don't have a DEP file number though. Angela, what's happening with this?
Hi, Angela Schofield here. So there would be no DEP file number because it's a request for determination of applicability.
Sorry about that. Yep.
It's okay. And it looks like Mr. Matt Morrow is here to represent the project. Matt, would you like me to change it over so you can present it?
That would be great. Thank you.
Of course. 1 second. Oops, almost dismissed you. Do not dismiss. There you go.
Okay, so let me make sure I get the right screen up.
How are you, Matt?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Thank you for putting up with me while I get this screen share up. I've never been rapid fire on these screen shares. So essentially what we have is a request for a determination of applicability for the repair of a foundation under this garage here. I don't know if you can see my hand scrolling around, but essentially we have a single family home on Christine Street. If you look, you can see here's the garage. Behind this vegetation is an intermittent stream. The stream channel goes basically under a culvert, under a backyard, and then goes down through Stevens Road and eventually makes its way out to the Wasbrook area. Actually very familiar with Christine Street. I live nearby and I used to get quite muddy in these streams when I was a kid. So what we have is we have essentially a stream with very little bordering vegetative wetland hugged tightly to the stream. Everything else is essentially weedy upland growth. So what they're looking to do is they're looking to come in from, it's the only site that they can really manage to come in with the equipment around here. And basically what they would do is they would dig around the foundation, repair the cracks in the some of the crumbling areas in the foundation. They don't have to take the garage out, remove the foundation. Everything can be, patched and repaired in place. Any soil that would be excavated temporarily can be piled basically over here. It's a fairly flat yard. So what I proposed is erosion protection in the form of 12-inch wattles heading out this way. I put it as hay bale. I'll give the commission can obviously have the option if it wants hay bales of the 12-inch wattles. Once the repairs are made, the soil would be put back in place. The area would be loomed and seeded. And that's basically it.
Matt, I think that's the shortest presentation I've heard you make.
Thanks. I can do the Reader's Digest version once in a while.
And we appreciate it. Thank you. I don't have any questions or concerns. It looks pretty straightforward to me. Anybody on the commission have anything you want to ask?
This is Rich Gullick, Chuck. I would go for the wattle instead of the bales.
Okay.
Use straw if you can. It's more inert. At least that's what my classes tell me that I'm taking through MHCC now. As Mike smiling, you're in the same class.
Yep, the straw wattle is fine. If you want to put that in the file, that'd be fine. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Liz. I was just going to say I think I'd prefer the wattles as well.
Yeah, well, they'd be pretty good at hugging the terrain by the stream too. You stake them down, they're really good at hugging. And the 12 inches, I prefer the 12-inch over the 6-inch. To me, 6-inch wattles are fairly useless.
12-inch wattle will be that. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right then, Angela, back to you.
Angela here. So looking at the project and after speaking with the current property owners and Mr. Morrow, I would recommend that the commission issue determination for 37 Christine Street. A negative determination, I should say. Number 3, that the work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions: that the 12-inch straw wattles will be installed, and a pre-construction meeting as well as an erosion control inspection will be conducted by the agent before work begins.
So Angela, you said a -3, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'd like to entertain a motion then for -3 determination with the conditions as outlined by the agent.
This is Liz. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Liz. Is there a second?
Rich Gullick, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Michael Siki, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Jeffrey Goyne, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to issue a negative determination number 3 with the conditions about the 12-inch straw wattle and the erosion control inspection.
Ready. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Thanks, you too, guys.
All right, moving on to the last of the new hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent regarding the installation of a pool and equipment in an existing yard, address 9 Kendall Hill Road, Leominster, Mass. Map and parcel 514-57, and no DP file number. Angela?
Angela Schofield here. Just checking to see. Yep, I do see that Seth is here. Seth, would you like me to make you the presenter for this project?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Seth, you're more than welcome to present, knowing that we're going to be continuing it after the fact.
That is understood.
Okay.
Hopefully you can see my screen now.
We can.
Great.
Thank you.
So as you mentioned, this is a notice of intent for 9 Kendall Hill Road. This is an after the fact NOI in response to an enforcement order that was issued by the Conservation Commission in December. My understanding is that previously an RDA was submitted for the installation of a pool, and during the installation of the pool, it was noted that some of the pool equipment was installed down gradient of the approved area. So on my screen, I have circled in red is the pool equipment in question. For those that were on the site walk today, you'll notice that there was an erosion control barrier in place that is indeed existing. It's in good repair. And the BVW is located in the westerly portion of the property, or the rear. That is the green hatched area on my plan. It is more or less well-defined by a large boulder wall. So it's a very clear boundary at this site. What we're proposing is to stabilize the entirety of the upgrading area. Historical area photos showed that it was in fact lawn prior to this applicant owning the property, and the lawn did extend all the way down to the edge of the BVW. And as mitigation, we're proposing an area behind an existing shed that's to be seeded with a conservation and wildlife mix from New England wetland plants or an approved equal. And then we're going to define the boundary with some high bush blueberry plants to provide a permanent marker between that area. We did note during the walk that there was some stone that was installed in that area, so that will be removed. Appropriate lawn will be put in place, and seed will be raked in by hand in that area. I believe it's fairly straightforward. I hope we were able to address your enforcement order. If the commission has any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate that. As we said on the site walk today, the little foot or so high mound of the berm of soil there, as long as that can be stabilized, you're more than welcome to leave that there. It would be a good border there. It'd be very helpful, actually.
We are in agreement with that.
Yep. Good. Okay. Yeah, no, I was on the sidewalk today. I think you've addressed addressed my concerns anyway. I don't want to speak about the rest of the commissioners. So with that, I'll open up to the rest of the commission. Nothing. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I think you like I said, Seth. Thank you addressed our concerns. I appreciate it very much. So
Thank
Angela,
you.
I'll throw it back to you.
Angela here. So my recommendation would be for us to continue this obviously to our next public meeting on April 12th until we can get a DEP file number.
All right, good. Is there a motion to continue the hearing to April 12th?
This is Liz, I'll make that motion.
Liz, I heard Liz. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be taken by roll call. Jeffrey Goyne, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Michael Stuckey, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to continue this hearing until our April 12th meeting.
And could I ask if the commission would like to have a representative present at that?
I think that would be good. Speak for myself as the chair. I think that'd be good.
We will see you then. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
You as well.
All right, moving on to continued hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent regarding the construction of a garage with associated driveway and site grading. Address 689 Wachusett Street, Leominster, Mass. Map and parcel 358-1K. DEP file number 199-1145. Is there somebody here to represent that project?
Yeah, Wesley Fliss, Whitman Bingham Associates, Barry Perler, the property owner, is also here this evening.
How are you?
So, Angela, I don't know if you had seen, I sent Angela an updated plan yesterday with also an updated notice of intent to include the chicken coop and shed with that notice. So since the meeting last Wednesday, Mr. Pearl and I had a chance to walk his property and determine a different location for the chicken coop. So there's 2 trees located about 8.5 feet or so away from his retaining wall, one closer to the shed, and then one that was basically midpoint of the shed and where the garage is going to go. And so after looking at the grade of that area and in reference to the grade of the existing chicken coop, we thought this would be a better location for the chicken coop. So the existing grades at the existing, I think it's 623 square foot chicken coop. The lowest point in that chicken coop is about an elevation of 94. High point of that chicken coop is an elevation of 96. The elevation approximately at the bottom of the retaining walls around 98. And so what we're looking at is bringing the elevation of that the new chicken coop, which is 290 square feet, up to an elevation of 98 for the entire chicken coop area, and then slope off in a small section on the upper left-hand corner of that chicken coop to match the existing grades. The chicken coop is going to be cut in almost half the size it is now. But I know some of the members that had a chance to get out there, fair portion of the chicken coop, there's some trees in there and so forth that kind of make some of that area within the chicken coop dead area. And so this area is going to go completely unobstructed by trees, the only 2 trees that will be on the outside of it. And so Mr. Perla wants to build this chicken coop kind of in between those 2 trees and use the 2 trees as part of the structure of the new chicken coop. He'll put some posts along the retaining wall to be able to put some more of the coop up along the retaining wall. But that's the intent, is what we're looking at. And I know the concern before was the runoff that was running through there during that snow melt period through the existing chicken coop. So what we felt by raising the grade up to an elevation of 98, being 4 feet higher than that low point in the chicken coop would be sufficient enough. Last week when Mr. Perla and I are out there, the ground was still fairly wet. We were still dealing with some of the smaller snow melt and some of the rain that we've had in the past. So this area that we're looking at wasn't wet still from any of the previous weather that we had. So this is an area that we were looking at would be an ideal situation to kind of move that coop to. I don't know if any of the commission members have any comments or questions.
Well, appreciate your time coming back. Really appreciate your efforts. I unfortunately, as I said last week, I wasn't at the site visit. So I mean, this looks like a good faith effort to ameliorate our concerns. But again, I wasn't there. And is anybody on the commission that was at the site visit? How do you feel about this?
This is Rich Gullick here. I was at the site visit and raised questions in the last meeting. I appreciate the thoughts, the upper elevation to stop it from being flooded. I do not see how it addresses the rainfall and where that rainwater is going to take all the pathogens and then nitrogen and phosphorus, et cetera. It's still within that buffer areas, I can tell.
So the way the grade works above that retaining wall, it directs the water away from the retaining wall in this area. So we're not going to see water coming through this area other than what just falls on that small area. And we're talking 290 square feet compared to the chicken coop now is 623 square feet. So we're, substantially reducing the size of the chicken coop area. Plus we're, like I said, we're talking a 4-foot difference of area. And we could see when we were out there last week, the chicken coop area, the area that was wet was kind of that upper right-hand corner, which again, like I said, the elevation of that upper right-hand corner was the elevation of 94, where the lower left-hand corner of the existing chicken coop is the elevation of 96. So, there was already a substantial change in grade between those 2 corners, and kind of see where, obviously that, the lower corner was getting wet, but the upper corner was drier, even when we went out there last week and it wasn't dry weather. And so by even raising this coop up an additional 2 feet to an elevation of 98, we don't think there's going to be a huge issue here with regards to the runoff. Like I said, you're not getting any runoff crossing here other than what falls on it. It's 290 square feet now, not 623 feet, and you're not getting the runoff from the wetlands coming through this corner of the site now.
So how many fewer are there going to be fewer? Are there going to be fewer chickens? Is it smaller? Or is it the same number of chickens?
Same number of chickens at this point.
So the amount of manure. still the same amount of,
Yeah, and so I know it was recommended to, put some, sawdust or some other kind of ground cover on there that can be replaced as we go, so that, Mr. Perla can kind of clean up routinely, so it's not, you don't have as much of that issue. And I think Mr. Perla was agreeable to that at the last meeting. I think he told the commission that he was fine with that. So that's something that I know, he was agreeable to.
It looks, you say it was above the retaining wall? It looks like it's below the.
So no, what I'm saying is the grade above the retaining wall is pitched such that the runoff does not go to this area. So there's kind of a swale that was kind of built into the top of that retaining wall. And so the runoff's not directed to the retaining wall area where this coop is located. So it was something that Mr. Pearl and I looked at, again, trying to accommodate some of the concerns that came up last week. And trying to, reduce the amount of flow that comes through this chicken coop area.
I was mostly concerned about the rainfall and the impact of that runoff, not the surface runoff from the house coming through there. So, in my view, this does not address that concern. I could go look at it again, but I'd rather not see the open chicken coop above the water source reservoir within our jurisdiction, at least. I'd like to see it moved elsewhere.
It's so, Richard, there's no place on this property that's not going to discharge to the wetlands, because this property is basically surrounded by wetlands. So no matter where Mr. Perla puts this chicken coop, the water's eventually going to run to the wetlands.
It's right there, though. It's right in it.
This is Chuck.
That was installed without a permit, correct? Without going through the process, is that correct?
What's that?
I was asking, was it installed without going through this permit process? Is that correct?
Well, I think we knew that's why they're here in front of us in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. What about to address the rainfall issue still hitting that coop? What about putting a roof over it's still exposed on the sides, but a roof over it, which would help alleviate the rainfall issue.
I was going to do that on the new one.
So there will be a roof on this new one.
Yeah.
Keep right. Okay. Rich, how does that sound?
Richard, would that be enough?
It helps. I have to look further into this, and I'd like to hear from some other commissioners also.
Yeah, this is Mike Siki. I was up there as well, and I do agree with Rich. If it remains uncovered, that area, I don't think it does too much. My concern again was the stream that's down there is washing down into the pond at the Sportsman's Club and down into Hayes Reservoir. So it's pretty critical area. But if a roof on there and it's cleaned up, then the soil isn't possibly going to get saturated. So it's definitely a good step in the right direction.
Thank you, Michael. And I'm sorry, did I hear you folks say that you're going to put wood chips or something on the bottom of on the floor, on the ground? I'm sorry, was that a yes?
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Okay. So which will help with the periodic cleanup process?
Yeah, I mean, put them all around here, and I do that now, but.
Okay. Would it be possible if we were to continue this, would it be possible to come back with a slightly revised plan showing the coop with a roof on it? More than welcome to have open sides, but could you come back with a plan with a roof on the coop?
I have one now.
Something you would be willing to? That would be something you'd be willing to condition? You could put a condition of approval that the structure has a roof on it.
Yeah, I have one now.
Applicant's willing to do it.
I don't know how I could get it to you right now, but I do have one.
Okay. If you want to get that to the agent, well, we leave it to her to look at that. I still don't think without seeing that myself though, I don't think I'd want to close the hearing tonight and we can close. I don't think I'd want to vote on it tonight without seeing that. But if you have that, it would be a simple matter of continuing it, looking at it at next meeting and moving on from that. But before I get that far, and anybody, does that sound okay to the rest of the commission?
Yes.
Chuck, I would still, even with no walls on the building, I'm still believe a fair amount of rain's gonna blow into there and run stuff off. What happens to the manure right now that's there?
I take it out with my tractor and I bring it around to my garden areas up there and I spread it in my garden.
Good to hear. Yeah, if we do this, I'd like to see something in there that some mechanism to ensure that that will get taken away and land applied further away from this particular resource area. And I recommend that all the commissioners go see this site also, if I may. That's not out of bounds.
This is, I'm sorry, Liz, just one quick question.
Yeah,
So
sure.
just a quick question. This is Chuck Raymond, the chair. Is that garden up behind the house?
Yeah.
Where is it? Okay. Go ahead, Liz, sorry.
Yeah, so I haven't been up there yet either. So this is, I guess I'm picturing a entirely different coop. Is this literally just a fenced in area? There's no hutches or anything like that. It's just an open area.
It's pretty much all open. It's just fenced in with chicken wire, sort of coons them in there.
Okay.
Which actually begs the question: if you're going to be raising this thing up so it's level at about 98 feet, is that still just going to be chicken wire, or are you going to use wood? You're going to use wood siding to raise that level up? How's that going to take place?
It's going to be a wood framed structure with probably a stronger type of. I'm looking at different fences now. I haven't really picked one out yet, but I mean, you know, they got to have open air. So,
right.
You know, I can't enclose it all in. I can't. They
right.
Live.
No, understood. But there needs to be some structure to maintain that ground level, and then a roof. But like I said, you're more than welcome to have the sides open with fencing, whatever you need to do.
I mean, I wish I showed you this, but there's no way I can show you right now.
No, understood. So I think what I'd like to do is to continue the hearing until April 12th, just so you can present us with plans that we can look at and vote on for that coop.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it's going to maintain that floor level and with a roof on it. I think that would be very helpful.
I can do that.
Okay.
But,
anybody else in the commission have any thoughts or comments?
Back to the garage. I mean, are we good to go on the garage, or is this still going to be on hold?
Oh, well, we're Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're kind of handling this all as one filing. Is that correct, Angela?
Correct. Due to the violation, you agreed to put the coop in on this notice of intent, so we cannot approve the work on the garage until we determine a plan for the chicken coop and the placement, judging from the conversation that the commission has had. And then this would all be under the same permit.
Right. So in other words, it'll all go as one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that answers the question, Chuck. This is Rich Gullick.
Go ahead.
I'm not seeing a concern myself with the garage, sir. It's the chicken poop that's my concern, not your garage. That helps it.
Right. Well, right. This is Jeffrey Goyne, but as Angela stated, this is all one notice of intent. So we're voting on this whole plan as a whole. So I mean,
understood.
Yeah.
You know, he was simply asking, was as far as the garage aspect of it, are we okay? So I thought that just
to answer your question, as the chair, there appear to be no objections to the garage portion of the project.
Thank you, Chuck.
I do. As I say, I have one last question before we kind of move on. What is the distance now between the proposed coop and the wetlands, the flagged area? Because I know right now the existing coop is, right there. Or what are we looking at for a distance now with the proposed coop?
I personally didn't measure it, but I could do that tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, we're probably looking about 25 to 30 feet. then I can get you that measurement before the next meeting.
Yep, that'd be good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody else in the commission have any thoughts or questions? All right, I'll go ahead and open up to the public then. If there's anybody in the public that wishes to speak on the matter, you're welcome to do so now, but please state your name and address before you do. Second time. And third and final time. All right. Angela, I was going to ask for a motion to continue to the next hearing. Do you have anything before I do that?
Yes, this is Angela Schofield. So I just wanted to clarify, while the commission doesn't have any concerns about the garage, Mr. Perla, you cannot construct the garage at this time until this permit is issued. You do have to wait until the commission finishes approving this permit. So you cannot start any work until that is done.
All right.
Correct. Thank you, Angela. Appreciate the clarification. So with that, then I'll ask for a motion to continue the hearing until April 12th, with the understanding that the applicants will come back with a detailed plan for that coop, showing the construction technique and the sides and the roof and the whole bit. Is there a motion for that?
This is Liz. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Liz. Do we have a second?
This is Jeffrey Goin. I'll second.
Thank you, Jeff.
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Michael Siki, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Richard Gulick, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to continue this to our in-person meeting on April 12th.
Thank you. So Wes and Mr. Perley, you understand what we're looking for at the next hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Bye.
All right. So that was okay. The last of our continued hearings. We've had a few. I forgot where we were on the agenda. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent regarding the removal of a fixed dock and replacement with a floating dock. Address 27 Elm Street, map and parcel 121-5. Still waiting on a DP number, no update. Angela, any more information on that?
Yes. So actually I did, after I issued this agenda, I was contacted by the homeowner and DEP. It looks like the property owner did not send the completed permit into DEP or the check into them. So now I've coordinated with him. I've been assisting him and he's working on getting into DEP. And then once DEP receives it and issues a file number, then we will be able to continue on with this.
Okay, so be it. So no action we need to take tonight then, right?
Yes, no action tonight.
All righty, thank you. The saga continues. All right, moving on to new business. Proposed winter delineation review policy. Angela says you sent it to the city solicitor for review.
Is Angela here? Yes, I did. Let me see if I can search here. So I did also send it to DEP, and I spoke with Mia McDonald from DEP, who's the circuit rider for our region. So let me pull it up here. I believe I forwarded this as well, but I'll read it into the record. I asked her to review the policy and just if she was able to comment on it, if she didn't mind. And this is her response. Hi, Angela, you are correct. And many commissions have this type of policy. It provides applicants with information on the commission's BMPs prior to filing, which is always helpful. It was also a great idea to bring it to your city solicitor. My only comment would be to add wording and allow for the applicant to proceed in winter months with a third-party review under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53G. Although even a third-party, in parentheses, although even a third-party reviewer may not be able to confirm the field delineation due to weather conditions and/or by the time a third party is selected and contracted, the weather conditions may have improved. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, Mia. So just to elaborate on that, the Chapter 44, Section 53G, the city actually has not accepted that regulation. So we actually are not able to require that regulation since we do not have a wetland ordinance, or also known as a wetland bylaw. So that's not anything that we would be able to do, as well as hiring a third-party reviewer is a very long and lengthy process. The commission has done it twice since I've been here. We did it for the Mary Ave subdivision. I think Liz and Jeff might remember that, as well as the Orchard Hill Park ANRAD. And it's a very lengthy process. It does involve selecting multitude of third-party reviewers, sending out, requesting a bid from them. They submit a bid to the scope that we send out, and then we review that, and then we pick one. The applicant then would have to hire them to do the review. So in my opinion, having the variance where they could, if we do have good weather in the winter months, if we have an exceptionally warm December, January month, that they can do a written request that can be approved by the agent or the commission, however the commission would like to go with that. I think that'd be the best way to go about it, just so we do have best management practices in place and a policy to kind of lean on, primarily for office staff, since I'm the one who gets the calls for site visits to go out there and request for the commission to go out there. Because if we don't go out there, we would have to deny the project, which then could extend it and go to Supreme Court. Or not, I'm sorry, not Supreme Court, appeals court. I've been watching too much Law and Order.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the information. Anybody have any questions for Angela about that, the policy itself or the process?
This is Rich Gullick on this one again. Chuck, I'm curious what some of the other stakeholders would think about this particular policy. I see Bill Hennigan is still on the line. Can we ask people what they think? Or ask folks to send in comments so we can hear? I'd like to, again, hear what the engineers, the developers and so on think about.
Bill, before you jump in, let me just make sure, Angela, is it okay if we get a comment from Bill on this matter tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Bill, if Mr. Hannigan has a comment that he'd like to submit, he's more than welcome to.
Okay.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Bill.
It's on the agenda, so it's not illegal for me to comment.
I just want to make sure that I'm only been a chair for a few months. I just want to make sure I'm not.
You're doing a good job. So
thank you, Bill.
So I was actually multitasking, doing something else. So the winter delineation policy, what does it basically state?
Angela here. So it's quite a few paragraphs, but it basically states that the commission would limit the wetland delineations that we would review during winter months due to snow, less vegetation, unable to do soil samples. And basically it's not an ordinance or a bylaw, so it wouldn't go before city council. It's just a policy of the commission for us to put on the website. And it gives methods for waivers to be requested. For example, if we have a very warm December where I'm able to get an auger in, I need to check soil samples, I'm able to. They can send an email requesting that we do a site visit, even though it is still within that winter delineation freeze month, kind of.
Yeah. I'm not really sure if you need a policy for that, because most of the botanists that we work with, if they can't do the soil borings during the delineation, they basically tell us that you got to wait till the spring. I mean, we just had this past winter where 3 or 4 projects, they went out and did partial delineations and have to go back now that the snow's gone and the ground's not frozen and get their samples. It's for someone to submit a notice of intent to the commission, the botanist has to be able to certify that they did the proper tests and borings and work to be able to support the delineation. Now, if they do it in early December and then you get a foot of snow, then I think it's obvious that you really can't go out and review that delineation until the snow's gone, because you can't look at the evidence that he had or she had reviewed when they did their delineation. So I think in most cases, and I don't know the details of the policy, but I mean, if someone comes in and says, I went out, it's you've had snow since December 15th and it's 3 feet in the woods and they did their delineation January 17th, then you just go out and say, something, we're gonna have to wait till spring to do the commission always has the ability to state that they're gonna wait till a better condition of time to be able to review the delineation that's presented. I think that goes part and parcel with the whole notice of intent process. That's my opinion.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
From a practitioner, really appreciate that. All right, Angela, nothing else you need from us? We're just waiting. We're literally waiting to hear back from the solicitor. Is that what it is?
We did hear back from the solicitor. Let me see here. I sent that out as well. Let me pull that up here. Not Mia. Brian Riley. There you go. So sorry, there's a couple of greetings in here and asking how I'm doing. So I would say that I would hesitate to say this is enforceable completely. However, in the sense the commission denies an applicant based on incomplete information and the refusal to agree to a continuance, DEP would hopefully automatically affirm that decision. In view of DEP's own advisory, you referenced the commission's applicant should agree to a continuance. Hopefully they would agree with the commission's denial based on a lack of verifiable information. That was his opinion on if this would be an enforceable or useful policy. As I expect you to already, any agreement to an extension or refusal to agree one should be obtained in writing to avoid the 21-day limitation to hold a hearing and make a determination. I do not have any problem with the commission adopting and implementing this policy. Finally, I note that 310 CMR section 10.55 does authorize the commission to approve a 21-day extension without the applicant's assent, although that would not do the job. That would not assist applicants filed in December or January.
All right, so we've got the solicitor's review, solicitor's opinion. What's next on this, Angela? Do we need to vote on this tonight? What's the recommendation?
So my recommendation would be primarily this is, it's not, I think that there's some misunderstanding. This is not like a concrete law. This is more of a policy that the commission adopts, because I do get frequent calls asking me, what's your policy on winter delineations? Are you doing winter delineations? Are you doing this or that? And so all of our policies are on the city website, so that as people are looking for information on filing, this policy would pop up and they would know ahead of time, so that if they did their delineation this summer, but they don't file until December and we get a snowstorm, but they want to get their permit before January 1st for whatever reason, they'll know, oh, we can't do that because they're not gonna be able to come out and review the delineation. I don't ever recommend approving a permit until I go out to the site and confirm the delineation, because I have on several times gone out there and realized that flags need to be moved, either to be more conservative or to enclose more of the wetland area. When I first started back in 2018, there was actually a project that the commission had approved, probably I think the meeting before I started working there. And then that spring we went out to the job site and we discovered that they missed about a good 500 square feet of wetland that was now that was now technically approved as non-wetland area. So I think this is more of just a thing for, people who are not filing as often with us. It saves me some office time. It's a policy online that they can see and say, oh, we did the delineation this summer. They're not gonna be able to review it and approve it. We'll wait until the spring to do the permitting for whatever reason.
Okay, so but my question still stands. What do we do at this point? Do we need to vote, or what needs to happen?
So it would be for what next we have would be for if any of the commission members would like to make a motion to accept the policy, then we'd have to take a vote to accept it or to continue it or to deny it.
Can I just chime in as a member of the public?
Please.
Bill Hannigan, 71 Revolution Drive, Leominster.
Okay. Good one.
Sometimes policies actually go against you. So you have to be kind of careful in that. I think that there's enough teeth in the law, and there's enough teeth in common sense that if someone comes to you with a delineation I did in July and in December, and they don't want to continue the hearing because you can't go out and verify the wetland, and you deny them because of it, honestly, that's their own fault. I mean, unless it's an emergency, which is a different thing, I don't see developing a policy sometimes is counterproductive in the long run, because now you have to kind of live by it, and it's not always. I think what the city solicitor said in their letter was that there are certain sections of the regulations that exist right now that give you the latitude to do what you're trying to do by policy without setting a policy. And I think that Angela could actually just write a note on the website about the process, within the process document, that there's something out there that has like, here's what you do for a notice of intent. Within that, the wetlands will need to be reviewed by the commission or its agent or both, and must be done during weather conditions that permit that to happen. I think that if you just put that on the website, it's out there. You're not setting a policy that you then might have to retract in the future. Just an opinion from 30,000 feet.
Chuck, this is Rich Gullick, if I could.
Please.
Yeah, I agree totally with Bill. That's kind of the angle I've been going with. I'm still not convinced it's necessary. I see the allure of it and the concept and why. I still don't think it's necessary, and probably I'm not yet ready to support it. I haven't seen the big problem to resolve yet with it.
Okay, fair enough.
Enough
Appreciate that. All right, let's see. Trying to figure what the best course of action is here. I guess I'll go ahead and I'll be the Senate president here, and ask for a motion and see what happens. Do I have a motion? We'll start at the outside. Do I have a motion to accept the policy as has been described by Angela, and the one that she sent to the DEP and the solicitor for review? Do I have a motion to accept that as a policy for Angela to put it on the website?
This is Jeffrey Gordon. I'll make that motion. If our agent took the time to draft up this policy, then she believes that it is necessary. There's language within this policy that will still allow people to file, given if the weather is good enough. And so I'm for it, and so I'll make the motion to accept it.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
This is Liz. I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Liz. Angela?
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Michael Siki, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Richard Gullick, how do you vote?
I vote nay.
Thank you. Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And with that, the motion carries with 4 members in support of and 1 against to issue this policy of the wetland delineation.
Well, thank you, Angela. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that everybody knows I really appreciate this conversation. And just another example, we don't always have to be unanimous. Rich, I see you laughing, but we don't. We don't have to be in lockstep. So I think this is a perfect example of that. So, Rich, I really appreciate you bringing these up.
4-1. I'm okay, guys. So good.
Yeah. But that was good.
Yeah,
that was
but
that
I might not be.
Yeah, all right. Democracy in action, I guess, as it were. But
There you go.
Bill also, Bill, I appreciate your input as well. That was very helpful and useful. All right, good. Well, I guess that is that. Bill, I assume you still got one of these, either the new or the some of the enforcement. So I assume that's why you're still on the call and not just hanging out with us because you like us. All right, so moving on from that then. So we are, that was the, okay. Moving on, no old business, no certificates of compliance. We do have an extension permit, 96 Exchange Street, Heron's Landing 2, 199-1061. Extended expiration 7/3/22, continuing until springtime. Well, it is now springtime, officially. Angela, what's happening?
So I received this is Angela Schofield. I received an email from the wetland scientist on this project asking me if I'd heard back from the engineer yet, which I have not. So I'm trying to connect with both of them and kind of get an update as to where we are.
All righty. It'll get continued again. Thank you. All right. Move my cursor correctly. Okay. Nothing under communications. Nothing under meeting minutes. Enforcement. We have a new one. 803 Pleasant Street. Excuse me. There has been substantial work done within the riverfront and buffer zone that was unpermitted. There was also work done under an old order of conditions that was never recorded, creating a violation. Angela, to you.
Angela Schofield here. So just to give a little bit of history for the commission, I was made aware of this property through our special permitting process in the city, where all the department heads and myself, because I'm not a department head, comment on different projects that are going before the planning board. I think everyone can see my map here. So this is the site right here. The permit was for a solar panel, which then got retracted. But as I was researching the property, I discovered that there was an old order of conditions on the property. While further researching the property, I realized that the work seems to have been done under that old order of conditions, but that old order of conditions was never recorded at the registry of deeds and was never closed out. And then in further research of the property, I discovered that there was some substantial work done back. It looks like it was possibly back in like 2006, judging on the orthos where this large garage and large paved area was put in. You guys, I'm not sure if you guys can all see it on your screens, but there is a intermittent channel that connects to a perennial stream. So all this work was done within the 200-foot riverfront area. So I did contact DEP just for advice on how to really enforce this, pursue this. Should this be a retroactive permit? Should it be, what level of enforcement would be the best route for the commission, as well as to obviously help the resident. Unfortunately, I do believe that there is a new property owner who took ownership of the property, who did not file the original permits, and he was also not the person to do his family was not the ones who'd done the work on the site. But even so, it technically is in violation due to the fact that there was a large area of the riverfront altered. Now, due to the Riverfront Protection Act, and depending on when this work actually took place, when the building permit took place, there are some regulations that may not apply directly that are enforceable today. They may not have been enforceable 10 years ago, but it's very difficult to tell. I have not been physically onto the site. I don't enter properties without consent of the property owner. I did send out an agenda to him as well as an enforcement order. I do see he is on the call here. I sent out a draft enforcement order, just kind of explaining what my recommendations are going to be going forward to bring the site into compliance. But in order to bring it into compliance, I am recommending that they do hire someone to evaluate the site, the history, as well as how much of the work can be permitted to stay, and if any of it does need to be removed. DEP did mention that they may recommend removing a portion of the work that was done due to the fact of the proximity to the perennial stream and within 100 foot of the riparian zone. Let me see here. I think Mr. Saucier is on the call. I think he's unmuted if he has anything he'd like to say.
No, I mean, the information that you just conveyed is correct. We've owned the property since 2014. All of this work was done 2007 or prior by the previous owners.
I'm sorry, Mr. Saucy, was that your name?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your time. This is Chuck Raymond, the chair of the commission. So Angela, I assume that dark green line behind the barn is that intermittent stream?
This is Angela here, yes. And then the perennial stream that it connects to actually goes down parallel to the drive.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. This is a tough one. Mr. Saucier bought this property. And what do we, what we make them tear down half the barn? I'm not comfortable with it where this might go. I'd hate to see that happen. No fault of his own, but this work does need to be permitted correctly. If we are to ultimately protect the wetland resources of the town. I'm not quite sure where to go here, Angela. So what is your recommendation at this point, Angela?
This is Angela here. So my recommendation would be issue WPA Form 9, which is an enforcement order, which would it would go to the current property owner, as I really can't issue it to the prior property owner. Yeah. It would state the work that was done under the unrecorded DEP file number 199605. And so the enforcement order would include recording that at the registry of deeds, then filing for a certificate of compliance to close out that permit. Let's go down here. And then in the next section of the work would be for the additional work that was done to have someone go out and evaluate which regulations would apply for it, if it is permittable, if it is not permittable, how can we make it permittable? And that, the property owner, his agents, permittees, all the others shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone currently. Any resource area alterations resulting from this activity shall be corrected and the resource areas returned to their original condition. I checked that off because as I was looking through Google Earth images and other site images that they had in the building department file, it did look like there was a large section of vegetation cleared right along the wetland line, possibly. And then if there is a restoration that's needed, a plan will be filed with the commission on or before May 6th, which I would obviously give an extension of that depending on if Mrs. Saucier had an engineer or not in mind already. And that would be for the restoration of the areas within the riverfront or resource areas that have been altered without permitting and do not meet the standards of the Riverfront Protection Act and the Wetland Protection Act. If work can be permitted, the burden of the proof is on the homeowner or representative to submit that to the commission. And then I'd put the date in May 6th. Obviously, that's something we can discuss depending on work schedule. It's becoming busy season. For filing of a notice of intent for the garage, the driveway extension, vegetation clearing, and any other riverfront area alteration that may include the pool house and additions on the dwelling, as the riverfront area does go from the mean annual high water line. So I'm not sure if that work does fall in the 200-foot riverfront area or not, because I don't have an accurate plan in front of me at this time. No further work shall be performed until a public hearing has been held and an order of conditions has been issued. And I checked off the property owner shall take the following action. The applicant will immediately record the order of conditions on the title and file a certificate of compliance to close out that older permit within 40 days of receiving the enforcement order. An as-built plan, a letter from registered engineer, and a Form 8A will be required for the COC to be issued, which is our typical requirements. And that was my kind of draft enforcement order that I drafted up just due to the fact that this is kind of a difficult situation due to the fact that the current property owner is not the one who did the work necessarily, but unfortunately this will impede his ability to file permits with the city. So I would like to clear this up and clear up the title so he's able to file his solar panel permit if he'd like to. I'm able to sign off on it.
Not to point fingers here, but did Mr. Saucier's attorney possibly miss something here when he bought the property?
This is Angela here. So unfortunately, since the original order of conditions was actually never recorded on the title, there was nothing for them to miss. I've discovered that when there's title searches being done, if you don't pay for a very in-depth title search, real estate agents, real estate brokers, all these people who are supposed to help you buy houses, unless they know what to look for, they are unaware of it as well. And typically it's actually the insurance company or the bank that flag an order of conditions that needs to be closed out, in my experience, more so than a lawyer.
Okay. All right. So we get ourselves a little situation here. So, Mrs. Saucier, did you have anything you want to? Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like Bill's raising his hand. Bill, what do you got?
I'll defer to Bill and go ahead, please. Let us know What you can do
Obviously, I think,
regards to this.
I think Angela's list of items has been prepared, not knowing whether Mr. Saucier was going to cooperate, which is prudent. I think that's a wise move. But I think that just for disclosure, Mike's brother-in-law works for me. Okay, so he can get a lot of survey work done relatively inexpensively, which is a good thing. So what I'd like to do, and I think that Angela would, I hope the commission, I think Angela would agree with this. I need to have some time to kind of dig in and find out what happened. Okay. Relative to the order that was not recorded, there's no lawyer or title company in the world that would find an order of conditions and if it wasn't recorded. So that's unfortunate that the prior homeowner didn't record it. But there's no responsibility that anyone on the finance end of it could have dealt with.
Okay.
Because they look at the registry, so there's technically no lien on the property right now for the order of conditions. Okay. I would ask that we don't record the order of conditions, but we still have at some point in time, we have a mechanism to issue a certificate of compliance or non-compliance for the previous order of conditions to basically wipe it off the books of the commission. But to put an encumbrance on a piece of property that's financed, we'd have to go back to the bank and deal with that stuff. So there's a lot of moving parts to this one. And I need some time to kind of dig into it. I did go through some of the aerials images on MassGIS. And I'd like to go back through the building department records as well to try to figure out exactly what happened and when the building to the back got constructed and when these additions happened. I think it's just some research that we need to do to kind of go backwards in time and then come forward with what happened and then come back to the commission. You know, and it might take a couple of meetings before we can come. It might be a month or so before we can do this. Come back to the commission, say, okay, here's where we are. Here's what we think happened. Here's the timing of what we think went on. Here's what we think was really there, and here's what we think the additional work is. And I think that one of the key numbers on this one is going to end up being that 10% number. If we can keep the work that was done in the riverfront area below the 10% number, we're going to be in a lot better shape than if we go above the 10% number. Okay. Now, that being said, Angela, do you mind if I share my screen?
Bill, this is Chuck Raymond. Just a quick question while this is happening. By the way, I assume you're representing Mr. Saucier on this matter?
You can ask him if you need to.
Yes.
Mr. Saucier, is Mr. Hannigan representing you in this matter?
Yes, he is.
All right, good. Thank you.
Correct.
No, he's not just not just a innocent bystander. Okay.
I was hanging around for this.
I got a question, Chuck, if I can.
Can I have control of the screen, please?
Yeah, Rich Gullick here. So is the work that was done within the actual resource area or within the buffer?
We don't know. Okay. Part of this is going to
Bill. I'll take that.
Yeah. Part of it's
that makes a difference to some degree.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said that makes a difference to me to some degree.
Absolutely.
And I'd certainly like to go look at the site before we make any decisions on anything and see what potential impact I really think there is from what was built there on that intermittent stream. And have Michael have a chance to show us, and you too, Bill.
Yeah, there won't be any decisions made tonight. Like Bill's, they're going to go back and figure out what happened and take
Angela, can I have control of the screen? I'm not sure if she's still there.
So yeah, this is Jeffrey Goyen. I think we lost Angela for a stretch. I don't know if she's having tech difficulties or what. Her mic keeps flashing on and off, and I don't hear anything. She was logged out at one point, so I don't know if we're kind of in a pause mode right now.
All right.
Yeah,
so
I just sent her a text.
I was going to bring up the MassGIS stuff because in some of the older photos from the 90s, this driveway actually still does appear. Okay. There is a building over here. I don't think it's the same building. but there is something over here in that, and that's kind of the run through I want to go through with moments in time to try to figure out what happened over time, along with the building department records, along with you know, visible observation of what's out there. It might be that we have to do some soil borings to try to figure out what, you know, if we go next to the driveway and we bore down 18 inches and we find wetland soil, we know what happened, you know. So that's the type of exploratory things that we have to do to kind of figure this out. But I think that you know, we're going to go out and have the wetlands delineated, have the bank delineated, locate everything, draw up a plan of where everything is, so that we can have a starting point of okay, you know, this much of the property has been altered within the 0 to 100, and this much between the 100 and 200. Okay, what's the date of the lot when it was created? That comes into play. How much work was done, which was redeveloped, if any. Okay, so those are the types of things that I want to go through and kind of try to figure out and get a better handle of it relative to the regulations of what he's allowed to do, and then from there we can start discussing what the remedy to the situation is, and that would be my approach to it.
I think
And
that's
can you guys
prudent.
hear me now?
Oh, there
Yes.
you are. Yep.
There we go. I apologize. My computer decided I unplugged my computer. It must have died, and so I was rushing around. So I did miss what Mr. Hannigan had said. Last thing I heard was that you don't think we should record the old order of conditions, which I want to address because I already spoke to the state about that, as well as other city departments, and the state said that order of conditions absolutely need to be recorded and closed out, or else all that work that was done is considered a violation for the sewer line.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I do agree with that as well. And then I know, so the enforcement order that I had, the draft one I had written up to issue, it basically puts all the burden of proof on Mr. Saucier and whoever he decides to hire for his representative, which I'm presuming is going to be Mr. Hannigan, to kind of do all this research and then present it all to the commission under a notice of intent or an RDA or under the enforcement order. I do think it might be prudent for us to get started at least with issuing an enforcement order for them to do the research and submit it to the commission for whatever is necessary, primarily because we do want the commission will want the old order to be closed out and finished as soon as possible, so that when permits do come across the building department, the planning department, that they're not held up due to a violation that we're trying to address.
Right.
Once the enforcement order is in effect, the commission can amend it as necessary. We can send amendments to DEP as we go on.
Okay, so Angela,
right,
one of the
so-
things I said, I'm not sure if you heard this, was that you had a myriad of items on your enforcement order list, which I think makes sense, not knowing whether the landowner was gonna cooperate and be responsible, which I think he is. So the reason why I was saying the order is because of the fact that you put an order of conditions on a property, it puts a lien on the property, and there's other things that we have to think about. But I do agree with you now that you mentioned about if you don't have the order, then it's a violation. So yeah, I think we'd have to try to work our way around that. But I think what I need to do is sit with Mike and then probably go through and grab whatever you have in your files, make copies of it so we understand exactly what's going on, go back through the building department records so we know exactly what's going on. And what I was doing with, I don't think you can do it now, but I was asking if you could give me the screen, because in the 1990s time frame, I think there was a building over here. I don't think it was the same. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, looks like it was a shed that they demolished, judging by the notes in the permits that I read.
Right.
You know,
So
old permits are cursive and hard.
This is the house, the pool was there. You know, there's a building back here. It doesn't look like the same building. The driveway still comes through here. So, you know, it's not all bad, I think. And then the question is, when you go from here and you go to this one isn't good. Let me just go to a better one. You go to that one, okay? That's obviously when they just paved it. So you go from this to this, and it's relatively is dramatic. There's the brook, there's the intermittent stream, there's the perennial stream, okay? Because there's a lot of work that's within this area here, but it might be that when we're looking at this, as best we can, it's not great, but it might not be as bad as it looks. That's all. So
Absolutely.
This was 2008. When was the order issued?
Hold on one second. I don't have it directly in front of me. I want to say it was
2007.
early 90s. Yeah. It was,
early 90s?
That's what I want to say. I'm trying to pull it up here. My computer's not connecting to the city drive, so I can't pull it up. It needs to update, of course, again.
We can determine that later on.
This is my thoughts here. Angela, I did have that question too. When was the order of conditions issued, and what was, I guess, permitted, or what was the construction that was issued for at the time?
So I know the permit was
believe
issued
it was
to do
probably
the sewer line.
Sewer line.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah,
probably
so installed the sewer.
1997. The addition of the house was the first piece of all of this construction that was put on supposedly in 1997. So
Yeah, so I believe this
that's
this
when it
permit happened before the addition. It happened before the pool house. It happened before the garage. This was back.
The order of conditions?
I'm sorry, the order of conditions, yes. It was before the garage was installed, because that wasn't in any of the wasn't on any plan. Yes, the original order of conditions 199605, which was only for the sewer line work.
Are you saying that's from 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Did I hear correctly?
I believe so. I'm just trying to pull it up here. Come on.
Yeah, that's
I did send you a copy of it, Mr.
Right.
Saucier, in the enforcement order. I'm just, unfortunately, because if my computer's trying to update, it won't let me connect to the city drives.
But I think that the basic point is that we just need some time to dig into it and figure out what happened and figure out a game plan of what we think we can do and how we should attack this. And I think we file anything with the commission, we come back and review it with the commission about what our approach is going to be. Make sure that we're on the same page. I think that makes sense.
This is Chuck Raymond, the chair. I think that's appropriate, prudent. Angela, do we need to take any actions tonight, or should we just continue this so that they can go back and do their information digging and come back to us at a date to be determined?
So my recommendation, after speaking with the state in depth about this, I spoke with Kimberly Roth and Mia McDonald about this site in particular, as well as 3 other agents from the area, would be for the commission to vote to issue an enforcement order setting dates and timelines to give ourselves the timeline of when this work, when this research part of the work should be done. And then once we have the research, it can be presented to us either under the enforcement order or under a notice of intent, as well as the closing out of the older permit, the recording and closing out of the older permit can be done as well. I do have the city clerk working on issuing a true attest copy this week as well, so they're able to do that.
All right. So Bill and Mr. Saucier, are you okay with us issuing this enforcement order tonight, and we'll proceed forward from there? Okay.
Chuck, can I jump in?
You may.
It's Rich Golick here. Is that needed tonight? Can we just wait to hear what Bill comes up with before we start taking action and learn more about this?
Within the order, there will be a request for them to come back to us with more information.
I realize that, but they're going to do that they'll do that anyways. So
if I may, Chair.
Why create another legal document right now when, at least myself, this is the first time really starting to learn about this situation. I'd like to learn more. My real push is to keep it simple. We're really dealing with a 25-year-old consent order, or not consent order, but condition. from a previous owner.
As Rich, as this is Jeffrey Gorin, as someone who's been on the commission for a couple of years now, this is sort of standard procedure for this type of thing. So I mean, and, you know, this is not the first time that we've had to do it, and certainly that I think we put dates and times in place for them to come back with the information necessary. And I know that in the past we have voted other enforcements to be extended to give the owners more time to figure out what needs to be done. So this is not something that, you know, it's an enforcement order. It doesn't, other than telling them, hey, you got to go find some information, it doesn't like, it's not like it's a fine or anything like that. It's just to get the ball rolling, essentially. As much as even though they know they need to do that, it's still part of the procedure.
Thank you, Jeff.
Angela here, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
And also just, you know, for the newer commission members, we are still a legal body. We do have to follow federal and state as well as city regulations. So while we know Mr. Hannigan very well, and you know, he comes to us for us all the time, he's always very on time, we still can't give him that bias that we're going to say, oh yeah, well, we know he's going to give it to us. Because in the past, the commission does need a legal document in order to review something. We cannot comment on or approve plans that are not under a notice of intent or an RDA or an amended order of conditions. We have all these different legal stone walls, I like to call them. I like to run right into them all the time. And it, you know, we really should keep the legal procedures similar across the board, which is enforcement order. It sounds scary because it has a really terrible name, but it really is just a project phasing, because we are able to amend it. It does give us legal backing to continue this public hearing discussion with Mr. Saucier as well as Mr. Hannigan in a public forum, as well as offline. I can work with them as well as for working under the enforcement order to bring the site into compliance. In the past, what has happened, you know, way before my time, way before other agents in other communities, is that, oh yeah, you know, we'll get this done. 5 years comes along, a new agent comes in the office, and you know, the person who cleared 75 trees and filled in a wetland didn't do their enforcement order, didn't do anything that they said they were going to do. Things got busy, and it makes it really difficult for the commission to kind of continue enforcing the Wetland Protection Act and keeping compliance within the city.
Chuck, I interrupted your question to Bill Hannigan about what he thought of this merger conditions.
No, I think we're also. I think they both nodded their heads. I think this is just they understand this. Particularly Mr. Hannigan, he understands how the process works. Enforcement order is just a step in the process. It's not a hammer. It's just a legal step in the process to ultimately just get the property back into compliance. That's all, as best we can. So I think we're good. So Angela, so what would you need a motion then to issue an enforcement order for the property? Is that the process here?
Yeah. So I did, you know, I did the draft enforcement order, which I did send out with the dates of May 6th. I would like to extend that to be June 30th, just because it is busy season. People are taking vacations right now. We have April vacation coming up. I don't know if you have children or not, but it's a crazy time of year. And honestly, this is, you know, you've been very responsive and very easy to work with, which I appreciate. I know this is not your fault specifically. I completely understand that, and I appreciate how quick you were to have somebody come and represent you.
All right, so then we're looking for basically, Angela, just to make sure the motion will be to issue an enforcement order with the next hearing scheduled for June 30th. Is that correct?
Yes, and it'd be the enforcement order that I read in earlier.
Right. So is there a motion then to issue an enforcement order for 803 Pleasant Street as described by the agent with the next hearing date of June 30th?
Can you please describe that again for us, Chuck?
What, the enforcement order?
Yeah, the conditions of it that we're voting on.
Well, Angela, that's to be determined, isn't it? Or do you want is something you can describe for Rich while we're here?
I can do you one better. I can share it with everyone. So this is the WPA Form 9, which is our enforcement order. So this would be issued by the commission. The date would obviously need to be changed to Mr. Michael Saucier, the home of 803 Pleasant Street, Leominster, Mass, which is also the violation, map and parcel number 490-5. The extent and type of activity is work conducted with an order of conditions that was not recorded from DEP file number 199605, as well as unpermitted work was done on the property, including a garage, driveway extension, vegetation clearing within a resource area, addition to the house, pool house built, and site grading. And all this information did come from building permits that were pulled, as well as the assessing department file and Google Earth orthos and the city's GIS orthos. My findings are that the activity has been conducted in an area subject to protection under Chapter 131, Chapter 40 as amended, or within the buffer zone without approval from the issuing authority. And I do know that as there was only one order of conditions filed for the sewer line work. Scroll. The order of conditions that was previously recorded expired on February 19th of 2002. The order, and then I would also check off the boxes as other. The other order of conditions is expired and was never recorded. The additional work from the original NOI attached was also done without a permit from the Conservation Commission. I had attached all the documents that I found in the building department file. Just go to meeting things in the way.
Angela, may I jump in right there? Isn't the box checked where it said it was going to put everything back to original condition? We're not asking that now, are we?
Nope, that box is not checked, Rich. I'm going to finish reading it and then you'll see what it means. So it says right here, the issuing authority hereby orders the following. The property owner, his agents, permittees, and all others shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone or resource areas. And that is basically to stop any additional violations, resource area alterations resulting from the activity. For example, the garage will be corrected and the resource areas returned to the original condition. And then, as you've seen, per the state's recommendation, I checked off the next box for the restoration plan will be filed with the issuing authority on or before, put June 30th. And this is how the state had, so I should word this to cover ourselves, to be the restoration of the areas within the riverfront, because the riverfront is considered a resource area, or other resource areas that have been altered without permitting and do not meet the standards of the Riverfront Protection Act and the Wetland Protection Act. So only the areas that do not meet those standards will need to be restored, which is what the commission would require anyways. If the work can be permitted, the burden of the proof is on the homeowner or representative to submit that to the commission. So that basically would say that, you know, it's up to Mr. Hannigan and Mr. Saucier to prove to us that the building permit was pulled before 2006, the work started here and there, or, you know, the garage was built in 1996. They would need to submit that proof to the commission to support that that would not need to be restored or filed for. And then
Do
it
we
goes on
know
to
what would have to be done then under that second box? I'm confused. What exactly needs to be done under that second box, or is that still to be determined?
So that's what that box right there states, that Mr. Saucier and his representative are going to determine that for us.
Scroll back up if you could, please. So we can see the line. You can't see my cursor, but the second one of these, restoring things to the original condition, we're asking something I don't know that we know we want done yet. Is that correct?
So Mr. Gulick, that says resource area alterations resulting from said activity shall be corrected and the resource areas returned to their original condition. So that means any work that was done illegally within a resource area, which is not a buffer zone, that would be the stream physically, the floodplain, which would all be work that is basically unpermittable. If they're not able to permit it, they would have to restore that.
What work was that? That's what I want to know.
And so that's what the next section states that they have to provide us with.
Real quick, this is Jeffrey going. Rich,
tell me again, Jeff.
So yeah, this is us telling them that they have to find out what needs to be done. So yeah, we don't know, and we're putting the burden of figuring that out onto the homeowner and his representatives.
Are you okay with that, Rich? What's going on?
I'm absorbing, trying to learn the job, you know, guys.
All right, moving on.
And so then for whatever work does need to be permitted, I checked off complete the attached notice of intent, and that will be filed with the issuing for authority on or before, I'm putting June 30th. Sounds like a good amount of time for the following: the garage, driveway extension, vegetation clearing, and any other riverfront area alteration. And that could include the pool house and additions on the dwelling, which it's very difficult to tell if those were in the riverfront area or not. And then no further work will be performed on the property. And then immediate action that does need to be taken is the applicant will immediately record the order of conditions on the title and file a certificate of compliance to close out that older permit within 40 days of receiving this order. That should be a fairly simple thing to do, as we have the order of conditions. You just have to send it down to the registry of deeds. They record it, and then they're handing it, should be able to help, or I can help you with also filling out a certificate of compliance request to close that out.
Did I hear you correct that the original order was just for a sewer line from the street to the building? That's it?
That there's a couple other smaller items involved with that work.
And do you have those plans?
In the office, they're in the files. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Which I can share with you.
Yeah.
I just have to find a printer big enough to scan them in.
You can let me borrow them. I'll come in, scan them in, and tab them right here. We're only a stone's throw away from you. Yep.
I know. I take advantage of it all the time. And so that would be the enforcement order.
All right.
And basically,
Thank
it
you,
just says everything's on them. No offense.
And just so the commission members know, I don't find this an issue. And I can advise Mike that this is the first step in getting this resolved. So I don't have any issue with what Angela's putting in there. And I do agree that there are some boxes that maybe don't need to be checked, but that's what if we could go through if we have the enforcement order now, at least we have a roadmap to follow to try to get back into compliance. And I think that's the objective.
Right. Thank you, Bill. And for the rest of the commission, these enforcement orders they literally are not written in stone. As this process plays itself out, we can work with the applicant and his representative on this order conditions, on this enforcement order as needed. So, Angela, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hopefully, they answered everybody's questions. So, I'll then ask for a motion again to issue an order, an enforcement order as just described and detailed by the agent, with the next due date for the applicant and his representative to come back to us with more information for June 30th of 2022. Does that sound right, Angela?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so I'll entertain that motion.
This is Jeffrey Goin. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Is there a second?
This is Michael Siki. I'll second it.
Thank you, Michael.
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Richard Gulick, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Vice Chairwoman Elizabeth Ricci Blair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to issue this enforcement order as discussed to Mr. Saucier. I do want to say thank you so much for being so quick to responding and understanding that even though it says enforcement order, we are really here trying to work with you to bring everything into compliance, so I don't have to hold up any more permits for you.
I'd like to echo what the agent said. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time and your willingness to work with us.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
You too. Have a good night.
In June.
Okay. Phew, that took longer than I thought it was going to. I think we made some good progress, though. Thank you, Angela, for your help with that. All right, moving on. Still under enforcement, but continued enforcement issues. Waiting on permits to be filed / no action to be taken. First one, Peninsula on Lakeshore Drive. Bank eroding due to past alteration. And this is Michael's property. So Michael, would you like to recuse yourself, please?
Angela here. These are just being read in. We don't need to
Okay.
have a discussion. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I'm just reading all three of these in then?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So the second one then is 9 Kendall Hill Road. The NOI has been submitted. And 1775 Lock Drive, additional alteration to a riverfront area. So nothing else that needs to be done with those, Angela?
No, I'm still waiting to hear back from the engineers. 9 Kendall Hill, we did receive the notice of intent. We've heard it tonight. Once the order of conditions is issued, I will take it off the agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Emergency certifications, tree cutting, Lake Samoset. 5 to 6 trees, all dead and petrified. Tree hit a car. Petrified? They were literally stone?
So that's how the arborist described it to me. They were hit by lightning.
They're scared.
It was very exciting to me because I really thought I was gonna, see some really cool like stone trees, but that was not the case. Basically, these trees have been hit by lightning. They've the past few storms we've had have really damaged them exponentially to the point where over on Lakeview Drive, if you guys can see my little screen here, trying to get to where I need to go. There's Olive Drive. So right here, where's the Circle House? Sorry, my screen is glitching all over the place because it does not want to be shared, I guess. Nice to see us. Gotta keep going down Lakeview. So basically there have been several trees that have been either hit by lightning, damaged by rain and storms. And now with all these heavy winds that we've been having and the thaws and freezing that we've been having, the branches have been falling. Recently, a branch had fallen and hit someone's car, and now they are threatening to sue the Lake Association over at Lake Samoset. So I met with the president of the association, and I walked the site with him. I looked at there's 5 trees that for sure need to be topped. He wants to cut them to at least a little bit below the power lines, just so they don't take out the power lines, hurt anyone walking, hit any of the houses, but leave the stumps in place for animal habitat and erosion control. There was one stump that he was unsure if he'd be able to leave it in place just because it is very rotted out. He is worried that it will disintegrate, but he wants to evaluate that as they are cutting. And then those 4 trees, they're about 80 feet high. Pines are in this area over here. Can you see my yellow line?
Yep.
Which is Zaria Beach area. The roots are all sticking up. They're all quite obviously dead. They are pines. They have some green on them, but the branches on that day, a gust of wind blew and a branch fell right into the lake while we were standing there talking about them. And then there's the real large concern one. There is scroll, and my lines are coming with us, I guess. We need to fix this GIS. It keeps clicking out. There's a tree that is the real issue, has about a 2-foot diameter, is completely dead, and I'm not an arborist, but I believe it's an oak tree that was hit by lightning, and it did damage someone's car pretty severely. I'm sure Mr. Seeke can speak to it. I believe he's a part of the association due to his property over on Lake Shore.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do need to cut that to at least 12 feet. They still want to leave it in place. They just want to cut it to 12 feet so that there's no more risk of branches falling and hitting pedestrians or hitting cars. This is an emergency just because of the weather we've been having, in my opinion. We keep getting strong gusts of winds, we keep getting thaws and freezing, we keep getting thunderstorms. We're about to hit rainy season. And it's also an emergency as if this Lake Association does get sued by this, by the homeowners for any damages, it will ruin the Lake Association, to put it quite frankly. They will have to dissolve, and then no one will be managing this lake, which is a larger issue in my opinion. that's basically the lowdown on that. I'm trying to give you guys a good view. So it's a total of 5 trees, possibly a 6th tree that need to come out. They want to evaluate it when they get to the top of it and see if it truly is rotted or not first.
Angela, this is Mike Siki. Do they have a plan to replant those trees?
Not at this time. He did say that that they are going to be developing a forestry plan, which I'd like to put that in the emergency order as well, that they will submit a forestry plan with the city just so that we are able to know what trees need to be cut, what trees are coming to be cut, if they're going to need more planting. The main clump of trees on the large tree on Forest Road is a single tree, kind of near like I wouldn't call it a parking area, but an area to park your car if you're going down to the beach. It's a permeable, compacted dirt area. And then the other trees over here, they're actually it's in an already beach area. But they're most definitely not suitable for that. And they do want to do more tree clearing in the future. But I did tell them that I would advise the commission to put that they do need to put a plan in place and file for additional tree clearing after this emergency order.
So Angela, this is Mike Siki. Those trees are within what they call the parkland area, the 25-foot piece that's owned by the Lake Owners Association, Property Owners Association.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Angela, so just if I get this straight, so the emergency certification will cover 5, possibly 6 trees. And at this point, they would mostly be cut to under the power lines, or leave some type of stump. At this point, they would not be actually removed as of yet. Is that true? And then there'll be a forestry plan to be submitted after the trees have been trimmed or cut. Is that true?
Correct. The only one that they're a little bit, the gentleman I met with is the president, Richard Blanchflower. There was one tree that he wasn't sure if he'd be able to leave the stump just because of where it is and how rotted it is. He was worried about safety issues.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions or concerns about this before I ask for a motion? No. Okay. All right. I'll ask for a motion then to issue an emergency certification for some tree cutting, as described by the agent at Lake Samoset. Again, 5 to 6 trees, all dead. I doubt if they're actually petrified. So they would be cut as described by the agent, and the emergency certification would also require a post-cutting forestry plan to fill in the missing, forestry plan to basically help restore the area. Is that correct, Angela?
Yes, so it's a forestry plan to kind of continue regular maintenance of the trees. They haven't done any maintenance there for quite some time on the trees. They've mainly been focusing on maintaining the lake water. Okay. And I just want to state, so I believe Michael Siki will be abstaining from voting, just because he is a member of the association.
Okay, good. All right, thank you for mentioning that.
Card-carrying lake owner.
Okay. All right, then. So hopefully that was clear. I'll ask for a motion. If you need any clarification, please let me know.
This is Jeffrey Goyne. I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Second.
This is Liz. I'll second.
Thank you, Liz.
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Richard Gulick, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
And Michael Siki, how do you vote?
He abstained. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
I abstain. And with that, we have 1 member abstaining and 4 members voting in favor of issuing an emergency certification for the 5 to 6 trees to be cleared, as stated.
All righty. All right, good. Thank you, Angela. All right, moving on to the end of the agenda. Nothing under budget. And so next meeting will be Tuesday, April 12th. The deadline was this past Friday at noon, and the April 12th meeting will be in person. And hopefully Angela can stop being an unpaid IT specialist.
Will refreshments be served?
I will absolutely bring candy for everyone.
All right. All right. Thank you all. That was the longest meeting in a long time. So thank you very much for your patience and your attention. Really appreciate it. And with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you on April 12th, unless we see you at the site meeting this week.
Real quick, this is Jeffrey going. I'll make a motion to end the meeting.
Oh, yeah, that would helpful. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you, Jeff. So Jeffrey's got a motion on the table to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Thank you, Jeff.
This is Mike Siki. I will second it.
Thank you, Mike.
This is Angela Schofield. The rest of the vote will be taken by roll call. Richard Gulick, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Elizabeth B.T. Blair, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairman Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And with that and the appearance of our favorite commission cat, I will adjourn this meeting.
All right. Thanks all.
One last comment. If you haven't gotten out to see the spot up on Wachusett Street with the chicken coop, please try to do so. That's going to be an important vote for us when that comes up.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.